Taste-driven development. I thought that was a very good title when I came up with it. It's punny. But mostly this talk is about quality and how to build quality products. I'm Andreas. By the way, if you know Swedish, then you understand why I picked that song. So I've worked with web stuff for 15 years. Last 5 years, I've been at Linear. Linear is a purpose-built tool for planning and building products. The idea behind Linear was to go into a mature market and compete with quality. So I think most of you probably use Linear, or more likely one of our competitors. And you might even have opinions about that product. Anyway, actually, how many people have heard of Linear before? Yeah. A few hands? Any actual users here? A few? Cool. So yeah, we launched in 2020, and we've been profitable basically since we started charging. And over the time, we've managed to get some cool customers, like we have OpenAI, Lovable, Cursor, Vercel, a few others. And not saying this to brag, I'm just saying this to explain I have a very clear bias when I'm talking about quality. But anyway, I'm going to talk about some things that I have learned from trying to build high-quality products. So, if you look for a definition of quality, they essentially boil down to like something that is good. And that's not, for me, very useful when trying to figure out how to build something that is of high quality, that is good. So I try to find a way to explain quality, find a way to explain quality in a way that is actually useful. And I see quality as an emotion. It's something that users feel when they interact with your product. It occurs when they use a product, and it's subjective, it's complex, and it's not really something that is inherent to the product itself. It's something that occurs in the interaction between the product, the user, and the environment they are in. But why do we even care about quality? So part of it is just from a business perspective, quality is the ultimate moat. It's something that's very hard to replicate, and it makes your product very sticky. It makes it desirable. It makes it almost indispensable. If you're a salesperson, it makes the product easier to sell. It improves retention. So if we actually want to build something of high quality, then we need to dive into how. There are some traits that are common between all quality products. And I think of this as sort of a hierarchy of needs, or hierarchy of quality traits. The most important thing is the functionality. We're building tools, and they must serve their purpose really well. And that purpose that they serve, it must correspond to something that the user needs. And the product needs to fulfill this purpose reliably and efficiently. But that's not enough. It also, because we are humans and our ways of interacting with the world, we understand the world by acting and by observing, by trying things and seeing what happens. So products that give us immediate, clear, consistent feedback, they're much easier to learn, much easier to understand, and much more enjoyable to use. And also for weird biological, psychological reasons, we tend to prefer things that are beautiful in some sense. That helps us build an emotional connection to the things we use. And this can come from simplicity, from delightful details, or just like harmonious aesthetic design. Let's keep this in mind for the future. So, what's taste? What has that got to do with it? Taste is the ability to recognize quality, to separate the good from the bad, and to understand what makes something great. And we can break this down as well. This ability relies on us having empathy, on us having some form of opinion and intuition. And the most important thing, I think, is to have a deep connection with our users, to really understand them, to feel what they feel, to understand the environment they're in, their motivations, their needs, and their feelings when using our product. And we really have to know our users, like know the actual people, not just through user stories or personas. We have to build relationships. They should feel like our friends. We have to talk to them regularly and continuously improve our understanding of what they need from us. The second thing is, we talk to all these users, but we need to have an opinion. We need to have an opinion on what should exist. Through the products that we build, we can shape the reality of our users. So we need to distill the knowledge that we get from talking to all the users. We need to understand the purpose of the product. And we need to distill that into a vision of what that reality should look like. Users will ask for a bunch of things that are not possible to do or don't make sense. That's not their job. Your job is to figure out what is desirable and what is possible. And the third thing is we need the intuition, the ability to sense where solutions can be found. Because we're always acting on limited information. Building a product, it is a learning exercise. It's trial and error. And the quicker we can start moving in the right direction, the better the end result will become. Now, as an industry, we have developed ways to build with quality. Or at least we have developed some processes that are meant to help us with that. But I think there are a few things that I see commonly that I've seen in organizations I've worked for that are actually mostly distracting and sort of guiding us slightly the wrong way. A guy called Peter Drucker said, what gets measured gets managed. And that's very true. But what we're trying to achieve in building a quality product is very, like we said, it's complex, it's intangible. We care about things that we cannot really measure in a good way. So when the product development process becomes too focused on moving some metrics, something gets lost. If we're working towards OKR, if we're doing development through A/B testing, we sort of inevitably shift the focus away from quality. And this focus shift might be very, very subtle. You might not even notice it. But over time, it compounds. Because there are so many things, mostly small, but also large, that adds to the quality of your product without actually moving the metric you're looking at. And vice versa. There are a lot of things you can do to your product that might move the specific metric you're trying to work towards without improving the quality. Because to make something great, you have to spend an unreasonable amount of time on tiny details that you cannot justify by just looking at numbers. Going back to sort of the components of a quality product, tactility and especially elegance, those are things that rarely show up in numbers. Instead, we can actually rely on our taste, on our intuition, on our understanding of what the users need, and our opinion on what is good. The second thing that we tend to focus a bit too much on is process. Most organizations have some form of relatively rigid or heavy process that they follow. Part of it is about dividing work across the organization. Part of it is to create structure and predictability. Those are all good things. But what tends to happen is that these layers of process, they move the responsibility and ownership away from the people who are actually building the product. So we add like detailed specifications, personas, user stories. We have a specific quality assurance functions and acceptance tests and all these things. And together they add up to loss of information and inefficiencies that we would actually need in order to build something great. So we end up building a worse product, and it takes longer to do so. If we instead build up our taste, our skill, and our craftsmanship, and rely on the care of the people who are building the product, remove as many layers of process as possible, and invest in building relationships with users, then we can build something that is better. Give people agency, give them ownership, and give them a purpose. So, this is going very quickly, by the way. So I'm going to talk about a few things that we do at Linear in order to help us build quality products. These are more like concrete tips. So one of the things is we aim to have 0 bugs. Obviously, we don't have 0 bugs, but as soon as a bug gets reported, it is triaged. And triage takes, on average, 44 minutes. So from a bug is reported to having it accepted and assigned to someone takes on average 44 minutes. And on average, bugs are fixed within 2 days. Fixed and deployed to production. And that's incredibly nice for someone who reports a bug to see that it gets handled immediately. And everyone who doesn't report bugs but still is affected by them, they will see less bugs. And if you're going to fix the bugs at some point anyway, you might as well do it straight away. The second thing we started to do a couple of years ago was what we call Quality Wednesdays. So we have these meetings every Wednesday. It's half an hour. Every engineer presents. We're a team of like 15 engineers in Europe. Every engineer presents one small quality fix that they found and fixed over the last week. Usually these fixes should be small. They should take less than an hour to find and fix. And since we started doing this, we've done like around 1,000 small fixes. And not only does obviously these things compound and add up to a product that has way more polish, way less quirks. More importantly, it helps us as a team build our taste, build our intuition for what a good quality product is. Especially in the beginning, when starting doing this, we had some people come in with a quality fix, and then we ended up having a discussion around what's actually good. And these discussions are incredibly valuable. And also seeing what everyone else has found helps us look for the smaller details that we otherwise might miss. So we end up with a team that has better taste and more synchronized taste. And actually, let's do this as well. So this is more sort of general advice when building software specifically. A key aspect of having taste is the ability to see beyond the actual product. You're not really designing features. You're designing behavior. What matters is really how this thing affects the people that are using it. Not just how it affects the immediate user, but also how it affects the organization, their environment as a whole. And a lot of this is about removing options and adding structure. We need to guide our users to sort of help shape the environment that they create by using our tools. Let's go back to this one. To finish off, taste-driven development, it is about focusing on craftsmanship and feelings, instead of focusing on process and metrics. It's more about taking inspiration from artisanal workshops than factories. Because we're not mass-producing things. We're building one single thing, one item. And it's a philosophy for building products that people love. You have to decide whether that is your goal. Because building something that is truly great requires you to pour yourself into the things you build. if someone else tried to build that same thing, they would build something differently. So make something that you are really proud of. That was quicker than I thought it would be, but that's all I had. Thank you so much.